Welcome to Legal and Lucrative, an interview series from CFO Accounting Services. In each episode, we sit down with attorneys to talk about the real side of running and growing a law practice: the people, the challenges, and the decisions that don't always show up on a balance sheet. We'll explore leadership, balance, and the financial realities of firm ownership, and share practical insights to help attorneys build practices that are both successful and sustainable.
What inspired you to start your own practice, and what has surprised you the most about running a firm?
Let's see, what inspired me to start? I think it's that age-old adage that you feel like you could do it better, or you felt like you could do it better working in other firms early in my career. That was one of the things. And then the other big thing was really that I had a growing family and I didn't want to be beholden to someone else's schedule and someone else's priority as my family was growing, and I wanted to have more control over that aspect of my own life. And along with thinking I could do it better, came together and had us start our own firm. We've been around 15 plus years now as a firm. And then what has surprised me, I wouldn't say anything's really surprised me. I knew it was going to be a challenge. It has been a challenge. I knew there would be great moments. There have been great moments. I knew there would be very tough moments. There have been very tough moments. I think the hardest thing that you don't really think about when you're working for others is how difficult it is to get and keep good people for your team.
Very true. Okay, next, how do you balance being both a lawyer and a business owner in terms of managing clients, your team, your personal life?
Yeah, I think for me, it's not super difficult to manage all aspects of that. I think you just do the right thing. And that holds true whether it's for your family, doing the right thing for your clients and your people, your team. And if you run it through that lens, the right thing in any of those situations becomes pretty easy to see. And we try to live that way, generally speaking, not just for the business or the firm or our clients. It's just every decision. Is this the right thing we should be doing? And I think running it through that kind of lens helps us make the best decisions possible, whether it is for the business, for the firm, for our personal life. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how
That's
we
very
how we
insightful.
look at it.
Yeah. There are no wrong answers, Lloyd.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
No, that's fantastic. Okay, when you think about growth, what is your main focus right now?
Growth is a multifaceted problem. We're a small firm in a kind of a smaller city, but we have to compete with bigger firms and the big cities, because the world is so much smaller than it has ever been in terms of getting clients, marketing to clients, getting your message out. Barriers to entry are so much lower. People are just online. It's easy to find folks from all over. And so the problem with growth is growth too. It's, do you have the right tools and systems in place to handle the growth that you are trying to push and grow? And so we've always taken the approach that we don't want to grow just for growth's sake. We also need to serve clients, serve our team, not overstress our people, not be taking on too much too fast. And so in some respects, it maybe has forced us to grow slower than others, but it's kind of goes back to do the right thing. And for us, the right thing is, look, if we're going to grow, we need to have the right team in place to handle the clients that we're expecting, so they're not left out in the cold or not getting calls or not being communicated with. And that we have the systems in place to make sure that we are able to handle and address any client concerns and needs and push their cases adequately and in a way that benefits them. And sometimes if you just grow too fast and don't think about all these other things, then that's when you can get yourself in a little more trouble. And so we try to look at growth as this big, it's not just get more cases. Like, we have to grow everything as we're growing everything.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So, what's been your biggest financial challenge as a firm owner, and how have you tried to tackle it?
Yeah, I think we do mostly personal injury. Prior to doing mostly personal injury, we did also have a lot of disability cases. And so it's a contingency fee practice. And so the the challenge with a contingency fee practice is you're investing a lot without a payout for a while. And so you have to be very mindful of where the dollars and cents are going and how fast they're flowing out, because just because we get a case today, we're not going to see revenue on that for months and months, sometimes years. And so that is just, I think, the challenge of our practice area. And then what was the second part of that question?
How have you tried to tackle it?
Yeah, I am pretty conservative in terms of expenditures and forecasting. I have an engineering background, and I think that kind of plays into the be very conservative in your forecast. And if you hit it out the park, great. But when we're budgeting, plan for higher expenses and lower revenues. That way you're not super surprised by it. You can figure out how to make things work. And then if your expenses come in lower and your revenue comes in higher, great. But it's like the plan for the worst and hope for the best type of mentality. We have a fractional CFO that we work with who's helped us develop some more robust systems and reporting tools to help us better forecast things. But one of the constant, I don't want to say battles, but discussions we have is, hey, you look at things way too conservatively. And I'm like, that's okay. And because if it comes in, great, fine, but I don't like to be surprised. And I think it helps to just be a little more conservative in our approach.
For sure. Wherever your comfort level is, that's what we talk about.
Yeah.
So how do you make important business decisions? Do you rely on data, intuition? You have advice from others? You just mentioned your CFO.
Yeah, all of the above. Ultimately the decision comes down to me, but I try to use all of those things you just mentioned. My wife is also an engineer, and she is very insightful and logical and can think through problems and see things differently. And she sees things much differently than I do. And so I like to have her involved with difficult decisions. But yeah, data is important, but we also try not to be paralyzed by data. There's always more data that you could have that can help you make a decision, but at some point it becomes like diminishing returns. Yeah, we could have more data. We could use more data to help us, but how much is it actually going to help us? Really, at some point, we want to have data, but we also want to take action, and we don't want to just be paralyzed by the constantly trying to get more data. We like data. Like I said, I have an engineering background. Data is very comforting to me. I like looking at it all, but we also have to make decisions and put plans in action, because it's not just you're never going to make a perfect decision. The only way to figure out how you need to adjust and modify things is to act and then see what happens.
Yes, I agree. So looking back, what's one thing you wish you'd understood about the business side of running a firm earlier in your firm's career?
The business side of what do I wish I understood earlier? I don't know. I try not to look back and be like, man, I wish I'd have known that earlier. It's not really like how I approach things. I just try to continually iterate and grow from what we are learning. And so it's hard to look back and say, oh, if I'd have known this 10 years ago, we would be so much better. We were very early adopters of having a case management system. We were very early adopters of utilizing building task flows and work things into our systems, but not just for our legal side, but also for our business. We were very early adopters in website and blogging and doing videos. And I think the only thing, as we're talking through it, and it's really not business, I think it's just life in general, is just the value of being consistent with your blog post, consistent with your marketing, consistently showing up to work, consistent for your team, having consistent revenue. It's just like the consistency is the key. For me, there's no home runs. It's singles. If you show up and hit singles every day, you're going to have a great and successful career. And that's what we try to keep doing.
Well, I love that. Okay, last question. What would it take for you to feel fully confident about your firm's financial future and growth potential?
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever gonna feel fully confident in that. It's just my background, my kind of patience is that I think when you feel fully confident, then you start taking things for granted. You may not keep putting forth the effort that's required to maintain because you're so confident. And sometimes that confidence leads to overconfidence, which then can really hamstring your business. And we are always looking at things and trying to just be the best we can be and make the best decisions we can make with the information we have. But I don't think I will ever be fully confident in the direction. We have a direction, but is it always are we doing it the right way? Are we doing things the right things? Is the revenue coming in the way we expected it? Even if it is, we're still evaluating that. Is it the best way? Is there other ways? Or there's different things that we can look at to help us make better decisions. And I think that just having that, I don't know, I call it like a growth mindset to where we're never going to be satisfied with the knowledge we have. We always want to try to continue to evaluate and analyze and learn and iterate to the next step, whatever that next step is. I don't know if I would ever be fully confident in our direction and growth and all of that other stuff.
Sounds a lot like me. Okay. Thank you so much for this.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Legal and Lucrative. A big thank you to our guest for such an honest and insightful conversation. For free tools and resources to help improve cash flow and profitability, head over to www.cfoaccountingservices.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. We'll see you next time.